So that's great. So hello everybody. It was nice to see your faces before. Now I'm looking at the presentation, but it's really lovely to have you all here today. My name, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Elizabeth de Bose, and I'm the social worker here at Lung Cancer Canada. And today I'm joining from Treaty 1 territory, which are the lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and also the homeland of the Métis Nation. This webinar today is the fifth webinar in our Airways of Hope educational series. The other topics, moving forward after a lung cancer diagnosis, coping with scanxiety, advanced care planning, and finding hope in lung cancer, all of those presentations can be found on the Lung Cancer Canada website under resources and videos. So as you may or may not be aware from other presentations, the first part of this presentation will be recorded, and then that's what gets posted onto the website. But the second part, where we'll have time for questions and discussion, that will not be recorded, and that's just to respect confidentiality and to make it a safe space for everybody to share. So again, the first part will be recorded, but the second part will not be recorded. And just always as a reminder, if anything from today's conversation brings up questions or concerns that you might have, please, reach out to your healthcare team, or also reach out to myself or my colleague Michelle here at Lung Cancer Canada for some additional support or questions. So who is this webinar for? Next slide, please, Michelle. This webinar, really is geared toward caregivers, but also it's for everybody, really. It's for anybody who's impacted by a lung cancer diagnosis. And we recognize that providing care and support for a person with lung cancer can come with many challenges, and it can also be a very rewarding experience. But as focus shifts to the person with cancer, the personal experiences and the needs of the care partners are set aside, and not much is shared about the care partner experience. So our hope today is that we'll shine some light onto the care partner experience and the impact that lung cancer has on loved ones. So the goals of the presentation today are to explore the important role of the care partner, to identify signs of stress and burnout and caregiver fatigue is what it's sometimes referred to, and then to offer some strategies to cope in meaningful and sustainable ways. So, when we think about how we define the caregiver experience, next slide, please, Michelle, thanks. Words can be really impactful, and how we define the care experience is important. And the difference in how a relationship is defined can actually really affect how roles are viewed, as well as the sense of control and personal agency that an individual feels in that experience. So the term caregiver defines the support that a loved one provides to the patient. The term care partner really evokes a sense of cooperation and common goals. There's a mutual sense of purpose, and as each person in the partnership has a role in the care and support that is being provided. And then patient-centered care, that's a term that gets thrown around a lot as well, but what does that actually mean? Well, patient-centered care is a term meant to empower patients to be active participants in their care. And this term, patient-centered care, also really serves as a guiding principle for the healthcare system, hospitals, healthcare teams, people like myself as a social worker. It's really helpful to keep the patient front and center at all times. And a part of patient-centered care also looks at the whole picture, the patient, their loved ones, and the many ways that lung cancer impacts life. So to recap, a caregiver, that term really encompasses how a person gives care to somebody else, while a care partner partners in that care. And this difference might seem trivial, but it really can create a powerful shift in mindset for both the patient and their loved one and the people around them as well. And it can result in a more balanced approach and can also help to maintain a sense of dignity and respect for the patient. So in defining these different terms, it's not to detract from the role and the value of caregivers in society. The distinction between caregiver and care partner just simply captures a different type of relationship in some nuanced ways as well. So at the end of the day, use whatever language resonates with you. I think that's the most important piece here. You can use whatever language you identify with. The care role can be defined as a loved one who provides physical, emotional, and practical support and care to someone with lung cancer, and it can be done in partnership with that patient. Care partners might be spouses, partners, children, other family members, or even close friends. And these roles are often volunteer and unpaid and untrained roles. Next slide, please. And we recognize, as you have all perhaps experienced in one way or another, that lung cancer impacts all parts of life, physically, emotionally, mentally, practically, and it impacts patients and their circles of support. Providing care to a loved one can be very challenging, and as we mentioned before, it can also be very rewarding. So if you're here today as a care partner, I just want to say this. We see you, we validate the role and responsibility that you carry. We're here to support you and to remind you that you're not alone. Next slide, please. So transitioning to a care partner role, what does this look like? How does that happen? What does one do to navigate that? Well, as a loved one, a care partner plays a very important role in the cancer experience. But, learning that your loved one has lung cancer can be a very scary time. It can be really overwhelming, and it can feel uncertain for everyone involved. And knowing how to navigate this time can be confusing and challenging at the best of times. So how does one navigate it? Well, here are some tips. So first and foremost, take time for yourself. So this maybe seems counterintuitive, but it's really important to take time to ground yourself. Lung cancer diagnosis often comes as a shock, and its impact, as you might know, can be far and wide. So take time to process what's happening as you settle into this, new life, into the changes that are coming your way. Define your role. So keeping in mind the definition of care partner that we just talked about, speak with your loved one and ask them about ways that they think you can best support them with their treatment and care. It can be really helpful to have these discussions early on to manage expectations, to reduce stress, and to identify areas where additional support might be helpful or needed as well. And then, communicate regularly with your loved ones to keep up with the things as they change. So as cancer shifts and morphs, throughout the whole cancer continuum, so does the care partner experience and roles and responsibilities. Get organized. That's certainly something that I hear a lot of people talking about, how helpful it is to get organized and to stay organized. And so, there'll be a lot of information, medical or otherwise, thrown out there and shared with your loved one. Getting organized with a binder or folder or some type of filing system to help keep track of everything can be very useful, especially in those moments where, a person is maybe searching for something that they knew that they heard or had access to at some point. Having a good organization system can actually be really helpful. As simple as it might sound, it's one of those pieces that kind of goes out the window right away, but keeping on top of organization is really helpful. Do your own research. We all know in this day and age with access to technology and information, it's very common and expected even that people want to turn to the internet to learn as much as possible about a diagnosis or treatment. But it's also equally important to identify early on helpful and relevant and accurate sources of online information. So ask your doctor or healthcare team for recommendations about websites or resources that they would recommend. Lungcancercanada.ca is a really great place to start. We have a lot of really helpful information on our website, as well as links to other reputable sources of information. And then lastly, connecting with others. Finding supports early on can really set the stage in a helpful way. There are excellent supports available all across Canada and North America, really. There are virtual support groups that are often more formal and facilitated by a counselor or clinician, while there are other informal types of support, like social media groups like on Facebook or other places that aren't monitored or moderated. But ask your cancer center again or your doctor, or look online for some more information. And at the end of the day, find what works best for you. Next slide, please. So, what does the lung cancer care partner do? Well, an important responsibility of a caregiver or care partner comes during medical appointments. Receiving a lung cancer diagnosis can be shocking, and patients can have a very difficult time focusing on or remembering the conversations that they've had with their oncologist and healthcare teams. And having somebody there to take notes, to remember important points, and then also to ask questions or to ask for clarity can provide a huge sense of relief to the person with cancer, and to also just loved ones in general. Some additional roles and responsibilities can include administering medications or managing prescriptions. It can be contacting the healthcare team in emergencies, transportation to and from appointments, keeping updated lists of medications and allergies. Again, going back to the organization piece, keeping a journal of symptoms or appointments. And then managing schedules. That's a big piece too, is just there can be so many appointments to keep track of, scans, blood work, whatever it might be. And that's just, from the cancer perspective, let alone life in general. Managing schedules can take a lot of time and effort and energy. Next slide, please. So, we know that lung cancer care partners often do so much more than just those medical things. At home, a care partner is often involved in multiple tasks directly related to the patient's care, but also related to day-to-day tasks, right? Like life still happens with lung cancer in the picture. So things like keeping family schedules organized, managing finances, paying the bills, handling legal issues, preparing meals, right? Doing laundry, taking over daily tasks and chores, providing support and encouragement to the patient, and keeping loved ones informed. Sometimes these changes happen very quickly and quite drastically. And other times these changes can be slow, picking up this responsibility here, taking on another chore over there. Eventually, the load can feel pretty heavy to carry. And it's really important to highlight and to remember that one individual is not meant to carry all of these responsibilities alone. Caregiving professionals recommend and even encourage, actually, that the primary care partner should enlist the help of other family and friends to share that load. Next slide, please. So the emotional experience of the care partner. Again, we recognize that lung cancer impacts all parts of life for everybody involved. Providing care for a loved one can bring up many emotions. Some of these feelings are experienced right away, kind of early on, as the diagnosis comes in, while other emotions might not surface for quite a while, or might kind of be bubbling underneath the surface, but then come up at other times. As a care partner, it's very common and expected to experience a wide range of emotions, including fear, anger, grief, guilt, anxiety, hope, compassion, depression, loneliness, hopelessness. The list could go on and on, really. The person with lung cancer may also experience these feelings, which is a very common and normal response to the diagnosis of lung cancer. So this is the interesting thing, though. While these emotions and responses might be very similar in that way, it's important, or the emotions might be very similar, but it's important to acknowledge and to respect that the responses might be very different. And this can be really tricky to navigate sometimes. So for example, fear and anxiety might be two front and center emotions that both the patient and the care partner are experiencing. However, the reactions or the responses to those emotions might not be the same. In fact, they'll most likely be different. So if one person is naturally very private, for example, having lung cancer in the picture might not necessarily change that suddenly. That person might find it difficult to express how they feel, even though the other person might be feeling a very similar way. And then for that other person, this can maybe feel confusing or frustrating. There are many ways to address this, and perhaps most importantly, recognizing and acknowledging how you're feeling can be very helpful. Sometimes people find it helpful to talk with someone, maybe another loved one, a friend, a counselor, somebody else that's objective, while other people feel that it's maybe easier to block out those emotions and feelings. Everybody copes in different ways. Over time, however, research and experience does tell us that, addressing these emotions and the emotional impact of cancer is very helpful and beneficial for the overall health and well-being of the patient and their loved ones. Next slide, please. So, one of the emotional experiences that I wanted to explore a little bit today, because it's not often talked about in the complexity of the lung cancer experience, is grief. Grief isn't something we just experience when somebody dies. We can experience grief in many different ways and for many different reasons. And it's a very common experience for care partners when somebody is experiencing lung cancer. Grief is associated with loss, and loss can come in many different forms. It's a response we all experience throughout our lives when we feel the emotional and/or physical pain of losing something or someone that's dear to us. Now, under this grief umbrella, there are a few different types of grief that one can experience, and this is not an exhaustive list. Grief as a topic of research has been studied in many different ways. But I'm just touching on two things here, two experiences that are common in the care partner experience. So, ambiguous grief happens when you start to grieve the loss of someone when they're still physically present, but may not be present in the same way as before. And this type of loss is often really unclear and confusing, and it can lack closure or certainty. Anticipatory grief is the feeling that one might experience when they're expecting or anticipating a loss or change. Whether it actually happens or not, the anticipatory grief experience can feel very real. Grief, next slide, please, Michelle. Thanks. So grief also shows up when someone has lost something that once was in the past, but is no longer. So this can happen when relationships change and when roles reverse. So for example, in a husband-wife partnership, or husband, wife and wife, like in a partnership, that can switch to the spouse to the care partner. So something has all of a sudden shifted with that lung cancer experience and care partner experience. Or with a child and a parent, say daughter and mother, to daughter and now care partner for their parent. That change in relationship can be very difficult, and it can come with a whole range of emotions. This grief is also present when a person experiences a loss in future plans, such as retirement or family milestones. Or it can happen when a person experiences a loss in ability, such as their physical health is compromised and they're no longer able to participate in the activities of daily living as they once did. And again, this can be very difficult to cope with for everyone involved. Next slide, please. So coping, with any kind of grief requires intention and attention. So intention comes from a desire to acknowledge the loss, as well as the feelings that you're experiencing. So being intentional about recognizing what it is that you're feeling and why you're feeling that. And then the attention comes from how you choose to cope with your loss. So again, intention is about, the desire to acknowledge it, and attention is about how one chooses to cope with that loss. So here's a few, tips about how to navigate loss and grief. Feel the pain. So guilt aside, having permission to feel the feels is perhaps one of the biggest and hardest parts of the grief experience. Denying feelings only intensifies and prolongs the pain. Talking and sharing about it can really help to diminish the experience. It's not meant to get rid of it, or to dismiss it, but instead, talking and sharing about it can help to bring something that feels so overwhelming into something that feels a bit more tangible and contextual. Keeping a journal. A journal is where anybody can write anything, including unfulfilled wishes, feelings like guilt and anger and more. And you can explore your frustrations and express your thoughts or ideas in confidence. Dear journal, this is how I'm feeling today. That, maybe sounds simple, but it can be very meaningful and impactful as well. Next slide, please. So, considering your own needs, this again sounds so simple, but really putting yourself first, it helps a person to recharge your batteries and to cope with your own emotions. So, taking a walk, going for a coffee with friends, whatever it might be, considering your own needs and, giving attention to those needs is crucial. Finding comfort through prayer, meditation, exercise, or something meaningful to you can be a part of meeting your own needs as well. And being kind to yourself, showing yourself some grace and compassion. It's all about, being patient with yourself. Care partners are also on the cancer journey. So being patient with your experiences and your feelings is really important. And then trying to find a balance between the complexity or the range of experience that you might be having, happiness and sadness, anger and peace, guilt and reality. There's a whole wide range of complex feelings and experiences that a person can have all at the same time. Next slide, please. Lung cancer, as we know, can impact everybody, and it can impact care partners in many ways, but when one is really in the thick of it, it can be difficult to see the way through it, let alone to acknowledge what's happening, that one might be feeling different signs of stress. Caregiver or care partner stress can come in many different forms. And again, it can be difficult to recognize or see it in the moment, but it's easy to feel these things happening. So, different experiences or feelings like denial, anger, social withdrawal, anxiety, depression, exhaustion, sleeplessness, emotional reactions that are kind of outside the norm of what one usually experiences, a lack of concentration, physical health problems. These are just a few signs of stress that a care partner can experience. It's important to recognize the signs and symptoms before they become too overwhelming and debilitating, which can leave a person unable to care for their loved one or for themselves. As a caregiver, it's really important to consider your own needs first in order to physically, mentally, and emotionally be there for the loved one in the ways in which you need to and that they need you to be. So again, it's simple and maybe sounds trivial, and it's like the safety checklist on airplanes, right? They always say the most important thing is to put your own oxygen mask on first so you can help others. It's cliche, but I think that it's very accurate. Self-care isn't selfish, it's smart. So again, self-care isn't selfish, it's smart. So take a moment here if you haven't already and just, check off the ones that you might be experiencing as a care partner. Next slide, please. Reducing stress. So we talk about stress, how does one reduce it? In no particular order, education is key and knowledge is power. So knowing as much as you can about lung cancer and what to expect is important and can be really helpful in order to prepare yourself as a care partner and your patient and your loved one in physical, mental, emotional, spiritual ways for whatever might be coming down the road. Maintaining routines and encouraging your loved one to engage in their own usual activities can really help to maintain a sense of normalcy, whatever that looks like with lung cancer. But it can be helpful to maintain life outside of cancer. Even if it looks differently, it can be helpful to have a sense of, what was once normal before cancer. Sharing information and feelings with others When we hold everything in, it can start to overrun our whole systems, mind, body, and spirit. And being able to share your thoughts, feelings, concerns, fears, as well as the joyful moments, really can be helpful to acknowledge, feel, and move forward, whatever it is that you're experiencing. Practicing gratitude. Research shows that there are huge correlations between a daily gratitude practice and a person's overall sense of well-being. So, despite the storm that you might be in with lung cancer, looking for even the smallest of occasions or moments or victories can really help significantly. Taking care of yourself, eating healthy foods, drinking water, getting outside, trying to sleep when you're able to sleep. All of these will help to fuel your body, mind, and spirit, fill up those gas tanks so that you're able to navigate this cancer experience with your loved one. And, reaching out for help. Don't be afraid to ask for or even accept the help of others. Those are two different things, right? Asking for help and then accepting it can be very difficult for people. So that means that if a friend offers to drive your loved one to an appointment so you can do groceries, accept it. If the neighbor offers food, accept it. Most people want to help where they can. They're just not sure how to help. By accepting it, lets others know that they too are doing their part to help. Never be afraid to ask when it gets to be too much. I think that's the biggest thing. And sometimes, again, it's difficult to see it when one is in it. So that's another part of this layer. But asking for help and accepting it isn't a sign of weakness or that you're not doing a good enough job. It's a sign that you're building up your own strength and capacity to tackle another day, another moment, another test, another round of treatment. And then lastly, planning for the future. When we plan ahead of time, we can focus on the needs in the present moment. So being prepared with finances or legal issues or, talking with loved ones about their needs and wants can help to reduce the stress and impact in the present moment. It will help to better prepare everybody for the future, whatever the future might hold. Next slide, please. Oh, support. This is perhaps one of the biggest pieces of this whole puzzle in the care partner experience. Finding your support system is crucial to coping with the impact of lung cancer, whether you're a patient or a care partner. Reaching out to other care partners, speaking to loved ones, connecting with a counselor, whatever it might be, reach out for support. And next slide, please. The last slide. Our organization, Lung Cancer Canada, has really excellent supports available. We have group support for patients. We also have plans in this year to start providing additional caregiver support, care partner support, specifically for care partners. Our website has excellent resources on it. We offer the one-to-one support from an emotional perspective, but from a practical perspective and navigation role as well. We have our peer-to-peer patient support group. On our website, we have patient and caregiver stories. And then we have a ton of webinars and podcasts. It's just, the list is so full of different types of resources that you can reach out for. So our website, lungcancercanada.ca, check it out. There's wonderful support there. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to myself, Elizabeth, or my colleague Michelle if there's anything that we can do to help you on this experience and this journey that you're on. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and we will stop the recording so we can continue with a discussion of sorts.